DC just released its first issue of KO Issue 1, and it ties together everything, so let's talk about it. The first panel shows Superman looking as if he's getting ready for a fight. And the thing that I first noticed is that this isn't being narrated by Superman, but by some unknown person. He forged them in a fortress years ago after returning from the dead. Knuckles with miniature suns raging inside, angry suns taken from empty universes. It then goes on to say, even so, with them he's stronger, faster, ready to throw down. He fought in other dimensions, other universes, and fought gods, titans. What's one more fight? And then the doors open, and you can see a shocked look on Superman's face as he says, what the... So what exactly is going on here? Why is Superman getting ready for a fight in almost a gladiator fashion? Well, the next panel shows the events leading up to this, and it starts in a room with Clark playing a board game with his friends and Lois, when they are interrupted by a bright red glare from outside as Lois says, Diana's about to toss what could be the winning roll, when Louis says, guys, why is it so bright out? Boom, standing in the middle of the city, taller than buildings, is Darkseid, as the comic explains, the hero's oldest and greatest foe, maybe the most familiar enemy they have, but this Darkseid has become something else. He isn't just bigger, stronger, he's everything, a universe of power given for him. Everywhere he looks, the city becomes his, no Clark thinks, not his. It becomes him, Clark can see it happening. Every particle, every molecule, every atom is now of Darkseid. As they charge him, Clark tells himself they've done this before. They fought Uxas dozens of times and won, but deep down he can feel it is different. And when he looks at his friends, he knows they feel it too. Now it's pretty clear something about this Darkseid is different. He is shown easily wiping out the heroes, and even as Superman tries to attack, it says, now as Clark rockets toward Darkseid at Mach 7, he hears a sound he has never heard. A horrible sound that stuns him. Stuns him so badly he barely feels the blast from Darkseid, the blast that ends him. Now how the hell is this comic supposed to continue if everyone's already dead? Well, that's where the next panel shows the same squad all together talking to the Quantum Quorum, the World Forger, Time Trapper, aka Doomsday, Gorilla Grodd, and Booster Gold. Together they have put their power into one in order to rewind time 7 days, to give them time to figure out how they will defeat Darkseid. They explain how Darkseid has currently just conquered the future, which we just seen, and that he will eventually travel back in time to conquer the past. The problem is, if Superman was easily defeated, how the hell is anyone else going to step up? That when the Quantum Quorum explains saying, this time you don't, World Forger, show them. The timeline before you is the history of our universe. The flame just ahead of this moment is him. We've explored every variation, and no matter what you try, he consumes you and moves on. It all ends here, in this moment, with Darkseid. So the plan comes down to trying to create a new timeline and restart everything so that the heroes wouldn't even know each other. Batman then asks, enough. We need to understand what we're up against Quorum. How did Darkseid become this? Which makes sense because Darkseid normally is, if not a little stronger than Superman, but in this case it's almost like he's on another level, like a god. Quorum then explains the origin behind his power. To understand him, you must understand what he seeks. Our universe is full of mysterious energies. But since its inception, its two most primal are the twin energies we call Alpha and Omega. Alpha is the energy of creation, wild and explosive. Nearly all planets with life are sources of alpha energy, but not Apocalypse. At Apocalypse core is an infernal machine, a heart that runs on Omega energy, the energy of conquest, absorption, control. And when Darkseid sought it eons ago, it chose him as its champion and transformed him into the enemy you have fought so many times. From that moment on, he has sought to turn Earth, reality's greatest source of alpha energy, into a new Apocalypse. And so when he formed his new universe, he placed a heart of Apocalypse at its primordial Earth center. All the Omega energy in that reel flows to him, making him absolute. Thus, he has become the universe's King Omega, the personification of all its Omega energy, a walking singularity that transforms all around him. And if you have figured out yet, but with this power, Darkseid created the absolute universe which Joker has already caught on to. And this shows why that universe is so evil. The Quorum explains the plan. In order to defeat Darkseid, they must prove to the heart that a new wielder of the power is worthy. This person would have to defeat everyone else, and then go on to defeat the heart itself. Superman, very angered by this idea, walks away. As someone his is the pinnacle of hope and helpfulness, fighting his fellow heroes to the death is not in his will. Wonder Woman and Batman talk to Superman explaining how necessary it is to do this. But Clark brings up the idea of what if Joker in this tournament was to win and get the power, and how catastrophic that would be to leave all that power in his hands. To where Batman says, you spent the last year turning the Phantom Zone from something punitive into a place of healing. We put our adversaries there for now to keep them safe and keep them out, basically explaining that the villains can't escape to enter the tournament. So in the end, Superman is convinced, and they move on with a tournament between all the heroes to decide who will take the pinnacle of power. Next panel, we see Terrific securing the villains out of this game and saying how he hates the entire idea of this tournament. He uses modified T-spheres to keep them controlled, as we see next all the villains in cells. The heroes on the third day organize and conference, with the world leaders explaining everything. Then the fourth day, the heroes spend possibly their last moments with their families, as they know only one will come out on top. And finally, on the fifth day, all the heroes suit up with their strongest equipment they got, as we then see Batman pick the Justice Buster 2, Wonder Woman acquires her Godkiller armor, Cyborg upgrades his father box, and possibly the most powerful is Superman equipping Mini Suns as Knuckles. On the sixth day they arrive, which brings us back to the first panel. Why was Superman so surprised? What did he see? Well, here you go. Superman is face to face with three different cosmic entities who seem to be the ones running the tournament, saying, "Get back, wait for all the combatants," which then pans over to this badass shot of all the heroes at their strongest forms. The entities explain, "Those of you who cross the gauntlet early shall move on. The rest perish, but beware. One wrong step and you may find yourself out." The contest begins at the drop of the Hellmace. It shows Superman talking to the kid version of Shazam, saying, well, looks like we'll finally get to see who'd win. Superman or the Captain? But, let's just say Shazam didn't do well as he's under the Hellmace as it drops, getting instantly smashed. Instantly pissing off Superman, who punches the Goliath in the face. But Batman shoots Superman with a rocket, trying to get Superman's head in the game and not act clumsy. However, the entire arena has traps everywhere. We can see heroes everywhere dying to all sorts of booby traps, making it harder for speedsters like Jay Garrick, who can easily run to the finish line until he make the wrong step and triggers the arrival of a form of parade demons, known as Omega Demons, who are very powerful, as seen killing heroes right off the bat. However, the heroes continue. Lobo and others can be seen already crossing the finish line, with Batman and Superman close to crossing also, until Batman is backstabbed and killed by what you ask. Well, obviously the fucking villains, who clearly aren't being watched by Terrific, as we see Joker, Lex Luthor with all their best gear. Superman watches as Batman dies. Clark doesn't understand how the villains got here, but doesn't have time to think, as we see all the villains crossing the finish line, but before they do, they kill Green Lantern, Blue Beetle. Superman notices, saying, "There's something in Lex's smile." It takes Clark a moment to realize that it's pity. It's a smile that says, "Go save a fucking cat from a tree." But this? Leave this to us, Boy Scout. Which is insane, because Superman is supposed to be one of, if not the strongest out of the league, and they're treating him like a loser. Superman then blasts through the finish line, taking the last spot. The next panel shows all the contestants that passed. Now, one thing that is still unknown that I mentioned from the start is that we don't know who is narrating this story. Until now. It's revealed that the narrator is the heart itself that all the heroes are trying to obtain. The heart explains how he already knows who will fail and who will win, all the twists and turns that await them. So many. The surprises are coming. Which then on the next panel says, like his three destroyers, horsemen, from a world where his rule is absolute monsters. You see where this is going, huh? And these are just some of the horrors that await. But if you want to know the real truth, the final one, I'll tell you. Surprise. It's that none of them win. Not Clark, not Diana, not Marie or Eel. None. Because what they don't know is that there is one last champion among them. While all this is taking place on a panel where you can see absolute Superman, absolute Batman, and absolute Wonder Woman. So I'm guessing one of them will win, right? That's what it's sounding like according to what the heart is saying. But nope, it's Darkseid himself. Yes, Darkseid is disguising himself as Booster Gold. He is among the tournament knowing all this would happen. The heart explains, the king himself, that it's right Darkseid having taken the form of one of their own. So no friend the game isn't beginning, it's already over, as it shows the red glare with the Omega symbol from Booster Gold's eyes. And that's a wrap on the beginning of this crazy comic, and now we know that the Absolute Universe is about to tie in. So we could possibly see the Absolute Villains 2 going up against normal villains, which would be an easy sweep on the Absolute side, as Absolute Joker looks like this. So I'm guessing the next issue is going to be a different format of a game. It says, choose your weapons, so I'm thinking this is going to be more one-on-one fighting between the contestants rather than a race, which should be really good.